that we had in the morning and our partners. So I'll call out the names, and if you could join us over here. Can we have on stage Mr. Ranindra Datta from Sab Miller, Mr. Richard D'Souza from Mahindra & Mahindra, Mr. Anant Narayanan from HDFC Standard Life, Mr. Milind Kulkarni from Tata Communications, Mr. Abhijit Verma from KPMG, and Mr. Rakesh Chopra from Icon Resources. So the objective is that we'll try and understand various perspectives from different industries that we have over here sitting with us on how their BI journey has been, how they are using business intelligence, business discovery, user-driven BI, and also from KPMG and IIT from being partners and advisors as to how they see the market to be evolving. So thanks for joining us. Let me quickly start by asking Mr. Richard D'Souza about how has your BI journey been from a competitive advantage? How do you think is user-driven BI giving competitive advantage in your organization? Yes. What are your perspectives on that?
Hello? Yeah. It depends how you really put the BI to use actually. If you use it for a normal traditional, reporting, etc., it's not really going to give you great value. Right. Because all our earlier systems really gave you all the dashboards, etc. So I would like to quote an example as to how we are using ClickView differently is, see, traditionally we normally use inventory in number of days, okay? So what we have done differently is, we always analyze inventory in number of days. But what we did was, now take for example, you've got about 10,000 tires in stock. Okay, so what we did was, we matched these 10,000 tires in stock along with the BOM, okay? In the priority of the orders. So it ultimately told me that out of these 10,000 tires, you can make 2,000 vehicles, okay? But when I matched these 2,000 vehicles with my orders, I found that I had only 500 orders in the system. So it immediately told business that against 1,500, 2,000 vehicles in stock, you just have 500 vehicles, orders of 500 vehicles. So you have excess 1,500 vehicles. That was the first point of thing. The second thing what it told me was that out of the 1,500, 2,000 vehicles we have in stock, 200 vehicles out of those are obsolete parts. So it tells me that you can go and sell that in the market at maybe 50% of the value, or I can liquidate it immediately, okay, or transfer it to my spare part market, which in the traditional sense, I would have liquidated it maybe 3 years down the line at 5% of the value. Third thing is today we talk about inventory carrying cost, but it's just at a global level. By adding an interest factor to it and by matching it with my stock, I'm able to calculate my inventory carrying cost at a transaction level. Okay, so if I aggregate these transaction costs at the transaction level to a buyer, I'm able to tell you that this buyer has wasted so much of inventory carrying cost. So basically, I'm really able to bring it down and highlight what is the loss on inventory carrying cost and moving away from the traditional method of, doing inventory in terms of number of days. So what we are trying to do is to use ClickView differently and different from the normal method of doing it actually.
Right. What about you, Mr. Datta? How does it happen in the beverage industry typically, and in your organization?
Well, the alcohol industry is a very, very, very constrained industry, and it is all dependent upon the state governments, how they give you permits in terms of the dispatch of goods. So what we, and I'll cite a similar example from what D'Souza has said, that what we build up a reporting capability is not only with respect to the sales that we were doing on a daily basis, we were also trying to look at the run rate of the sales and what was the run rate that we will need to achieve till the end of the month. That was one. The number two was that we were also trying to put in the permits that was available in our hands. And what would that permit relate to with the stock that the breweries are going to dispatch to the respective, warehouses and corporation depots. So what that translated was that whether we are having a build-up on our inventory of our finished goods and whether the permits were lower or the permits were higher and we were not able to build up. So that gave the insight in terms of how the analysis of a particular data that is available to you from different sources would have actually gained an insight into the business. So today, we are very fortunate enough that our inventories at the breweries is very, very minimal when the permits are related with because we have an aging of stock. So if the beer is an aged beer, nobody will drink it. So we need to make sure that the beer is available in the market at a fresh level. So the important part of the entire process was to also tag it along of the number of permits that we have, how much we could be able to dispatch it, and what is the production that we need to have. So we had tied up all this into the analysis bit, and which actually is giving a lot of benefit in terms of the inventory management.
Right, okay. Mr. Ananthanarayanan, I do understand that insurance industry is also one of the most competitive industries in the country. How do you think bringing in analytics and BI is helping HDFC Standard Life and in general the insurance industry?
Okay. Let me answer it in two parts. One, our own experience of having gained using analytics. See, when I look at the pipeline of you as a customer signing the contract, and then me fructifying it as a contract at a later date, when I put the Mudrang stamp on it that from today you are insured. Now, this entire life cycle needs to be managed. This is one piece where I have the pipeline management. Now, it's easy for me every morning to publish that, you guys brought in 100 crores of business so far, and out of this 100 crores, 70 crores is waiting to, become a contract, get issued as business. Now, we went ahead here. We started predicting which sale will actually go on to become a contract. How many of it, we have the pipeline and we have the drain, what we call waterfall. We estimate the waterfall also in terms of what is the business which will not actually get, become a contract from an application to a contract. So, where all are the possibilities of a drainage of the, business. Also in terms of, he was talking about the run rate. We went in a little different where we don't talk about the run rate, but particularly, my function or more of me, I'm called Octopus Paul in the company. I draw the line. And the challenge is to cross my line. So, it's something like around 10th of the month, I will start saying, I don't think we will cross this number. And when I say forecasting, we are not forecasting on gut. We have models built around, and using those models, I draw a line saying, I don't think, I give just 3 numbers, I don't think you will cross this number. And the challenge, which, right from MD would say, cross this guy's number, I'll be happy. All these are possible today, and that's important to do in analytics and, business intelligence. And as an organization, we have benefited a lot from this. And life insurance per se today, yes, it is important. If you look at it, the first thing which comes to my mind is fraud analytics, claims analytics, where claims is both about predicting a claim to also, forecasting or predicting a fraud on a claim. Post that comes anything else in terms of, forecasting business, forecasting the manpower that I need, forecasting the service infrastructure that I need to build. There are a variety of them in terms of, also looking at profiling an individual. When I get a profile of, say, a frontliner or a distributor, now will this guy match? Will this guy really be a good productive guy in the business? Or at what stage do I need to intervene to get this guy to be productive, up on productivity? So these are a lot of intrinsic questions that, every life insurer asks himself, and, that's where it stands. It's very, very critical today that sooner or later, many have started, sooner or later, everybody will have to do this.
Right. Let me pass it on to Mr. Kulkarni to get a perspective on the telecommunications industry. And we are all aware that it's one of the most, again, competitive industries, millions of customer subscribers. How do you think BI and analytics is going to really add value, or if it's adding value already, what is happening?
Yeah, I think in our case, the number of customers are less, because typically we are B2B, not B2C. But coming back to still 3 major areas where I see analytics helps. One is where the cross-sell, second is where the renewal and churn and price erosion. So if we start building information and models around these areas from a predictive perspective, and if you use predictive models, patterns, and where exactly which customers are going to erode at what point of time, what is the seasonality of that erosion, how this will impact my, ultimately the order value, which will in turn impact my revenue and profitability, how is my product profitability is going to be, and which products should be sold to the which customers. So once we start doing that kind of analysis, which currently I think after last 6 months we are working on it and doing it to an extent, that is what is really business is interested in, and that is what is really helping business to take it forward in a big way.
Right. Let's try and get a perspective from our partners and even the advisors, KPMG and IRT. Abhijit, what's happening in this industry? How is BI as a market evolving? Is that the last mile in the enterprise's IT strategy? Where do you see it moving now?
Well, tough question, okay. Because predicting, trends. So, gone are the days where consultants stood on stages and started predicting sort of trends. They tend to, not turn out the same way. But essentially, our point of view on BI and analytics is very simple, and I'll probably give it as a data point. Research says that a typical global CXO takes 79 decisions in a day, which is significant to the organization, right? And the interesting part about that is that 60% of those decisions in that day is taken in a cumulative of 9 minutes. Okay, now if your leaders in the organization are taking decisions within that time period, how are we supporting them with information such that those decisions are better, right? So our view is, how do you provide information that enables better decision making? And it does not happen necessarily in a meeting. It does not necessarily happen when they sign off. It happens sometimes in the mind when they're not in office, when they're away, so on and so forth. So, that's been our driver to say, how do we improve the quality of information at the right time, in the right manner, right, to enable that, right? So that's one. What is also, and taking case in point, talking about ClickView and how it's changing our landscape, right? So as consultants, we would go ahead and maybe do a cost optimization exercise, right? Or we go ahead and do, a business plan, or we go ahead and do an entry strategy. Now, the way some of these tools is helping us transform our services is also quite interesting. Now we do a cost optimization exercise, and then we follow it up with an sort of real-time overheads monitor, right? So you do a consulting job, and then you follow it on with a like I like to call it, walk the talk and talk the walk. So you don't leave with an Excel sheet and a presentation, but you also have the ability to help clients deliver, and using tools of this nature. So, for example, with telecom clients, we build micro-segmenting tools, right? So you go ahead and do customer lifecycle management engagements and sort of plans and look at their marketing programs and effectiveness of that, but also be able to derive information from their systems and help them, at that point in time and also on an ongoing basis. So, that's the other way it's changing from our point of view.
Right. Let me ask Mr. Chopra from IRT. I mean, you have interacted with a lot of ClickView customers and prospects, and what do you think? What is driving the change? Why are they looking at BI analytics in such numbers? What's driving this change in India?
Okay, I look at this from two perspectives. I look at it from a perspective of being the oldest partner for ClickTech in India. When we started working with ClickTech somewhere in 2003, 2004, we used to go for calls. We used to go for sales calls. We were a small company, new product. I've gone into meeting after meeting where people have actually come and, looked at me in disbelief after a presentation and said, look, are you sure there is a product in the world which can do this? Okay. The reason I'm saying that is that was the time when people were getting onto the ERP bandwagon. Companies were graduating from accounting systems to ERPs. They were getting their ERPs in order, and they had really not heard about business analytics. You go and tell a guy, look, you have a tool which is going to extract data from various sources, homogenize it, and present to you on the fly and give you actionable analytics on the fly. People never used to believe you. To answer your question, Jaideep, I think it's a lot to do with market maturity. I think the Indian market has finally matured, and we are today at a stage where people have got all their basic systems, transactional systems in place. They have sufficient amount of data, and they really see what insights they can get from the data. So number one, it's a market maturity thing, and number two is I think India overall has caught up with the rest of the world. When I say caught up with the rest of the world, I don't mean in terms of the dollar depreciating to 70 and all that. Right. I'm talking of things like the gap, technology gap, that is reduced tremendously. I think that's my take on this.
Right. Let me come back to Mr. D'Souza again and try and get his perspective, at least from Mahindra and Mahindra standpoint. Are we seeing a trend where we are moving away from traditional BI? Which, what I mean is, are we looking at organizations getting more into user-driven BI? We are enabling lots of users within the organization to start using analytics, BI, experiencing that and take decisions, because it's no longer the day where we're seeing boardrooms taking the final decisions. Everybody's involved in the entire decision-making process, which means that we are allowing everybody to be a part of that decision-making process. Do you think that's happening in industries in India now, that all the users are given that a challenge? Is it more user-centric now, user-driven?
Yes, definitely it is a lot user-centric now.
Right. So what's happening from your perspective? You think that's the right approach? That's how it should be going, or should it be again centric to a department or
No, I think that's the best way it's going to. Yes, and we are
ensure
driving that within our
to mobilize the users.
Yes, we are doing that.
Right. What about you, Mr. Datta? Is that what you're seeing in the market also?
I think the workforce is becoming younger. And since the workforce is becoming younger, they are more habituated in terms of self-service. And you see the proliferation of the current, social media into people's life. I think taking a cue from there and taking a response from there, I think it is more important for the organization to let go that centralization of the BI activity from a particular function into the wider spectrum of the organization. That will benefit the organization in a quicker decision making, what Abhijit was talking about, and also the proliferation of the data and the analysis of the data.
Right. Mr. Anant Narayanan?
Oh yes, that's something which we started with about killing in terms of people doing their own analysis. But I would, in the same breath, say we would now go back to the users and give them, their own self-service modules. It is important today. Central decisions, I don't know if they really hold good. What is important today is, is kind of allow the individual to, look at his business the way he wants to see it. Because, particularly if I talk of us as an organization, we moved from having, organization as a profit center. Today, we have branch as a profit center. So this guy has to take a lot of decisions, and for anything and everything, he can't be writing to Anantha Narayanan for information. So that has to be enabled, and that is what we, the effort is. In the same, when I say this, there needs to be a lot of due diligence around it, and a rigor of governance needs to be in place. This is very important. While we talk that it is great feeling to give information out there, but there needs to be rigor of governance. The ownership of who that information belongs to is something which has to be established within the organization. Then decisions being passed on. That's very, very critical.
Abhijit, what about you?
Yeah, so, it's important to, as a lot of IT professionals here in the organization, it's important to also step back and understand that you're actually, enabling huge organizational change within your organization.
Right.
In the way in which information is created and consumed is, like Anant just now mentioned, we used to be hierarchical, sort of pyramid-based structures, which are now really getting broken into matrix-based structures, team-based structures, branch-level profitability, brand-level profitability, location, all of these mashups that is being enabled by, technologies of this nature, and really, the hierarchical model is getting, sort of is the model of the past. What that ensures is that you have a new set of consuming class of information. There are different kinds of people within the organization which will have different needs for information that will emerge. So there are power users and there are, normal users, and we're working with, we're helping build plugins for some of these tools which will send you threshold-based SMSs alone. So there are CXOs like, if things are fine, don't tell me. I don't want to see the dashboard. Tell me only when there's a problem, right? And what is the action to me, right? So there are all kinds of consuming classes that are coming into play. And like Anant mentioned, we are talking about the concept of a business information office to say who's going to govern this information, who authorizes that this is valid organization view of data. There could be other consumers of data. You could be doing your own analysis and you could be doing your own trending, but that is not the view of the organization, right? And being able to, segregate and govern that is going to be an important emerging area in sort of time to come.
Right. Mr. Kulkarni, do you think that, again, gone are the days where the decision-making is only limited to the boardrooms only, and it's important that we mobilize the entire workforce, help them understand what they think from a decision-making standpoint, and therefore it's important to have user-driven BI rather than what we used to have earlier. Do you think that's really the game of the day?
Yeah, I think earlier also it was a user-driven BI, but only question of do they were empowered, do they have technology and tools which are enabling them to do that? That the answer may be no. Right. It was never an IT-driven or any development-driven environment. It was always for user. Right. And how well they can get that information, they can use it for the business purpose was very important. At that point of time, maybe the point that information was not available, the various flexibility was not available, the quality of the data was not good, so there were so many people doing the silos, and then the quality accuracy used to suffer. But now because of availability of data warehousing kind of tools or the quality of reporting tools and predicting tools, I think we are shifting that information to a larger group. And if you put the right empowerment in place, and if you put the right, sorry to use the audit word, which typically I like, delegation of power. If you put those kind of things properly in the place, in the organization, I think I can remove a lot of non-value-added activities. Right. And that is the way forward should be for any developing organization.
Rakesh, your experience?
Yeah, sure. I think I've seen the BI landscape evolve over the last few years. Also, ClickView evolving as a product. I'll put it very simply. There are just two things that IT needs to do or governance needs to do. One is create the data model and leave it. Control what data the users get. Let them decide whether they want to see a bar chart or a pie chart or a pivot or whatever. So the data is sacrosanct, you need to control it. The rest of it, let the user decide on his view and how he wants to use it. So that's point number one. Point number two is with ClickView 11, it's very easy to separate your data layer from your analytics layer. So what we generally do for customers today is we create something like a business glossary where we aggregate and bring in data in terms of simple business names. Stuff like, say, gross sales. What is the organization's definition of gross sales? So we bring it there, we bring the relevant data and give it as a field. Okay. Anything, say, turnover. Every different organization has a different definition of turnover. This is turnover, this is gross sales, this is customer margin, this is gross margin, whatever. We give the entire glossary. And with ClickView 11, it's very easy for an end user to pull all the fields he requires on analysis and create analysis on the fly. So that, to me, is the real power of ClickView and the real power of user-driven BI.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about mobility, mobile BI. There's a lot of talk in the town that it's important to make decisions while you're on the fly, and therefore mobile BI is becoming of age. Let me get a quick perspective from Mr. D'Souza on what his views are on mobility and mobile BI.
Yeah, mobile BI is really very important actually, but we are in our company at the initial stages actually. Right. We are at the presently not deployed it full-fledged, which we will do shortly in another 3 months. But yes, it's very, very important and it's really essential. Actually, gone are the days where people sit on their desktop and work anymore.
Exactly.
It's only your iPads and phones that you always use.
Right. What about you, Mr. Datta? You think mobility is going to really change the decision-making game?
No, actually, the dissemination of information would be faster. I think that is important. And also the availability of the data on the move would be available. So I would say that whether the decision making is faster or not, it depends on people to people, how they would like to take the decision. But the information to make that decision would be available to him at any time, anywhere is the concept. So I think mobility is as a journey for Saab Miller. Yes, mobility is something that we are looking at, and in my presentation as well, I did say that mobility is something that we will definitely look at, and it's a game changer. It's a game changer for the organization. It's a game changer for the people who wants to know what's happening. And as Abhijit said, that it is also very important that what kind of information is available. So if you put a heavy kind of a data onto a mobility device, that may not be a very useful feature, but you need to put in information which are really, really useful for them to take decisions.
Right. Let me quickly go to Abhijit and get his perspective. What do you think, in your experience, you have interacted with a lot of customers, prospects, how is the mobility of BI, that journey shaping up?
So it's an area of mobility, not just for BI, but for the workforce, right? For some, it is part and parcel. For some who are housed in sort of offices and factories and so on. So it ranges, right? But the need is inherent, and it's almost a non-negotiable aspect of any roadmap to do. It has its challenges. I mean, I'm a bit of a believer of saying just because, I mean, we've gone past that stage where, in my view, where technology, you're only limited by your imagination. You can do whatever you can from technology. It's no longer a barrier to say, what, I do not have connectivity, right? If you're a mobility freak, you can look at this service called PubNub, right, which is saying multi-device, including gaming consoles, connectivity across the globe, 59 uptime, and less than a quarter of a second delay. That's their guarantee across the globe, right? And to be able to push, some of the biggest VoIP service providers run on there. So, from a technology standpoint, there's no limitation. Right. The limitation is, do you want, for example, your boss to discuss, promotions sitting off an airport, right? He has the data, right? It's 11 in the night. They have to send out, the decision tomorrow, right? So organizations now will actually, and comes back to governance and decision making to say, what will you allow and not allow, because it has, technology is no longer the barrier to taking those decisions. There are other barriers now that you perhaps need to consider, right, to make decision making effective. So, it's a no-brainer, right? But it has its limitations.
Absolutely. Let me ask one final question to all the panelists. I mean, from a customer standpoint, prospect standpoint, maybe Milind can go first. What do you think is the biggest challenge or obstacle in implementing a BI strategy in an organization?
I think first important one I see is from the business commitment perspective. Is that business know what they want, and also they know that what is the capability of the predictives and forecasting stuff, because the typically limitation is they will think from reporting perspective, dashboarding perspective. So known area, what Nilesh was talking about in the morning, and maybe a little bit about what is known unknown. But when it comes to unknown, it is where the typically the term is data scientists and the analysts who should help organizations more, or even organizations are now getting those kind of people in the system where they are trying to work on those areas. That is where the power of analytics will be from a business perspective, and that is where the more and more growth will be in the organizations.
So getting business on board is one of the challenges or obstacles in implementation of BI strategy. What about you, Mr. Anant Narayanan? What do you think are those challenges or obstacles?
That's very typical, and you see this floating around. Pull out BI and analytics from out of IT. I have nothing against any function in the company, but it has to be driven by business. And, it is important for, the business guys to be actually leading it because they know what they want. So in the entire structure, if I see IT becomes the enabler and support, and it has to be driven by the business. And post that, there have to be, which I keep harping on, and which is important to have the governance structure in place, where again a matrix comes in play, where who gets what and how is something which has to be decided. Challenges, if you ask me, can be killed if the business guy is himself leading it from the front. But the bigger challenge is in the way he expresses. People always go after the knowns. Unknowns is something which has to be kind of thought by somebody who is able to think beyond business. And that is where you have specialists and specialists playing the role in terms of finding those unknowns and driving it down. Because end of the day, people think BI is about dashboards. It is much beyond, and that's something which that is where specialists play a lot of role, and very typically. Scientists, data scientists, and all these people play a role. And I think there is a data scientist in every business guy. He only has to, withdraw himself from business and start thinking about it. I myself was a business guy. I started, when I moved from, frontline to, line function to staff function, I started thinking much broader. So it helps, and my advantage was I always had the heart of a line guy. So maybe I have managed to confuse, but that's how it is today. Do we see them as challenges? Opportunities are there in the challenge itself.
Right. What about you, Mr. Datta? I mean, were there any challenges or obstacles that you faced, or do you think what are the major ones that typically you face?
Yeah, see, I think the business lead is given. The business has to lead the BI front. So that's given. So there are challenges how you put that across in the business, how business takes it, how business owns it. So those are its own challenges. The other bit of challenge is your implementation partner. I think that's something that needs to be very, very, very closely identified. And then a decision needs to be taken who can work along with business to do that implementation, because that's the most critical part of the entire process. Business may lead it, but it would be the implementation partner who would be along with the business and along with IT enabling it, should be delivering it. And if there is a failure there, then it's a bigger problem. Then the entire thing will come back to IT. So it's very important for IT to choose an implementation partner who can show credentials successful of implementation.
What about you, Mr. D'Souza? What do you think?
Yes, in the last couple of years, actually, businesses definitely accepted that analytics drives your business. Okay, in our organization also, it's a noted, accepted fact. But there's one thing. What happens is maybe we give them a lot of analytic dashboards, but can everybody analyze the data? That's one thing what we realized. So we went about conducting an internal courses where we got a lot of consultants to train our people as to how do you question this data. See, we going to convert people from working by rote to becoming analyst. Okay. Earlier they used to just handle data. Today we're converting them to be analysts. Right. So we got a team of specialists or consultants to train people how to look at data, how to question data. Unless you're able to question the data, you really can't put it to real use.
Right. What about you, Abhijit? I mean, let's hear from you also.
I'll just, perhaps labor Richard's point a little bit more. You'll see organizations, and we know in public domain as well, there's an important thing called a data mindset as an organization per se, right? And then within the organization, you'll have individuals who will have higher degree of propensity and lower. But there are organizations which culturally are very number-oriented, analytical. So, let's pick up GE, for example. Everything is KPI driven, right? So, you do your number, it then goes into a factor of 7, which goes into, and then, your results come in, right? You might have an organization, for example, like KPMG, which is a lot of accountants, but may not necessarily, the consulting part may not necessarily be very, very data oriented.
Right. Yeah.
The approach to analytics needs to be different from whoever is driving that initiative, right? Because the adoption is going to be different, right? But the value that you can derive is equally there. So how do you rope in the entire organization? So in Richard's case, there is obviously, a lot more training, perhaps even for us, there needs to be a lot more training, hand-holding to say, you know what, there is value here. You probably do it at clients, but you're not doing it enough internally, right? Maybe you're taking holidays internally. Right? The data mindset part is important. You need to plot your organization in that grid to say, what is the propensity of my organization to actually adopt analytics will depend on what level of data, what is the data mindset within the organization.
Yeah, I think I second that fact. I'm sure all of us would, that it's important to have that data mindset within the organization and amongst all within the organization to kind of really understand how BI can really add value to them. Let's also hear lastly from Mr. Rakesh Chopra. What do you think in your interactions, experiences with talking to prospects, customers, what do you think have been the challenges or obstacles that they typically have faced?
Okay, I think I'll take what Abhijit said a little further. I'll say rather than talking about a data mindset, you need to talk first about an IT mindset. There are so many organizations in India today where there is no IT mindset. Those organizations are always a challenge from an implementation perspective. Right. Number one, there's no top management buy-in, and if there's no top management buy-in, rest assured, mark my words, the project will fail. Okay. There has to be somebody at the top who's funding the project, who's footing the bill, and who's evangelizing BI within the organization. So that is a must. And the second important thing is, if your IT team itself does not understand what they're talking about, they're doing BI just for the sake of doing BI, then it's bound to be a failure.
Right. So thanks a lot, all the panelists. So basically what we understood was that data mindset is very important, ensuring that organizational readiness for implementing, embracing analytics is secondly very important. Also a couple of key takeaways were that when we are looking at any BI or analytics solution, it's important to look at a couple of aspects like whether it's mobile, it can be used for mobility, whether it's associative. My colleague Nilesh spoke in the morning about the secret sauce that ClickView Business Discovery uses, which is the associative experience. So are we looking at that also? Another aspect is social and collaborative. How social and collaborative is the BI and analytics solution that we have? Does it embrace and encompass all within the organization to add to the decision-making process? So I think these are a couple of takeaways that I would probably want to share with you and end this panel discussion. Thanks a lot again to all the panelists and all of you joining us here. It would be wonderful if you can join us for lunch outside. Again, I would like to thank our partners, KPMG, Vijay, thank you very much, and IRT, thank you, Rakesh. And there are demo booths outside. We will be more than happy to showcase live demos to all of you over there during the networking lunch sessions. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thank you, sir. Thank you.